Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create this displaced view here. This is a perspective view, and it's actually two views. It's a completed view, and then it's a displaced view where it pops the building apart. And Revit actually is pretty good at doing that, so we're going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to delete this view, and I'm going to delete that view. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to make a 3D view that I'm going to use. I'm just going to go to my site plan, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to go to view. I'm going to go to 3D view and camera. And I'm going to place a camera over here, and I'm just going to look at this guy right there. And then I'm just going to adjust my view. You can adjust it multiple ways. I'm using the pressing down the middle mouse button and hitting shift, right? The other thing you can do is you can use this navigation wheel. If you go to the pull down and pick the full navigation wheel, it'll bring out this thing that is first annoying, but it's kind of nice. If you hold down and press on one of those, it'll zoom, it'll orbit, right? You can reset your pivot, you can walk, you can do all sorts of different things. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to orbit into where I'm a little below the building, and I'm going to close that, and I want to pick the mask, which the mask is turned off, so I'm going to go to my visibility graphics and turn the mask back on so I can pick that thing and isolate it. So now I can come in and pick that mask, and I can come in and isolate that element. Right, so now I'm just looking at that particular view. What I really also want, though, is my crop box, and I forgot to isolate it, so I'm just going to go to reset my temporary height isolate, and I'm going to pick now the crop box and the mask, and I'm just going to go ahead and isolate those elements. So now I can see my crop box and my mask. Now, once I get to this point, I can come in and I might just go ahead and make this guy a little bigger, just so I have a little bit more real estate here. And then I'm going to start pulling this model apart and doing a few selection sets to help me with that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the masks off because I don't need them anymore. So if I go to VV, scroll down, turning off the mask, removing the check. And then what I want to do is I want to pick all the louvers, right? So I have louvers here, and then I have these red louvers in the center. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to left click, maybe zoom in a little bit, left click on that. I'm going to hold down my control key, or actually I'm going to right click and go to select all instances in entire project. And you'll see that it picks all of those louvers, and it's also picking the louvers right there. When I have that selection, I can save it. So if I go to save selection, I'll name this 0 louvers ends, right? So those are my end louvers. Now I'm going to deselect them. I'm going to come in and pick my other louver, right click on it, select all instances in entire project, and it selects all of them. And I'll save that selection to louver middle, mid for short. Oops. I already have one, so let's name it. I had these selection sets in here from a previous run through this, so I'm just going to precursor everything with a 0. All right, so now I have those two selection sets, and then I'm going to do the same thing with this generic model. I'm just going to pick it, right click on it, go to select all instances in entire project, and you can save a selection set of those, and I'll save it 0 circle. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these selection sets. I'll just pick 2 of those, and now I can go to load, and I can load the louver, the 0 louver ends, and then I can load the mid as well. And so now I have all of those selected, and I'm going to come up here to what's called Displaced Elements. And it's in the View panel, and I'm going to left click on that, and it's going to give me a displacement set, And you can see over here, I'm getting a Z displacement. And so I'm going to pick change the height of that. I'm just going to type in 80 feet. So you can see it's now popped that guy way up at 80 feet, right? So now I can come in, and if I just kind of window across or pick a couple of these circles, I can load the circle set, and now I can displace it in a separate displacement set, and let's take it up like 60 feet, right? Maybe not quite so high, so maybe 50 feet? Is that enough to get a separation? Not quite. We may have to change our view a little bit. But one thing to note is that it's not changing anything in any other view. It's just displacing these in this view. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to displace this floor down, right? So I'm going to come in and select this guy, right-click on it, select all instances in entire project. And you don't have to create a selection set. Like you could, at this point, you could displace this whole thing and it will group it into a displacement group. So I'm going to do that this time. And then I'm going to take the Z displacement, and you can actually just pull it using these guys, but I typically like to be a little bit more exact. So I'm just going to take this guy down to like maybe negative 50 feet. Right? So if we zoom out, you'll see that that guy's down there a little bit. I don't know, we'll see. I do want to come in and select this guy. Let's select this guy and right click and go to select all instances in entire project. So it selects all those. Unfortunately, it selects all of the circles up there because they have the same family in them, and it doesn't allow me to sort of blanket get rid of that selection. So what I'm going to do, and it's a little tedious sometimes, you just have to do this. I'm just going to come in and sort of pick these guys. Right, and it's going to take me a minute, and this is an instance where you really would want to create a selection set because it's just more difficult to get all these guys selected at once, right? And unfortunately, since it's inside of a mass, we can't do like a crossing box on it, which would, you know, make everybody's life easier. You just have to kind of go through and pick these guys individually. No sort of easy solution that I know of for this one. If you guys find one, let me know. Let's go ahead and get that, and that, and immediately save a selection set. So save that, save it as 0 frame. Okay, so now I want to push that guy down, and I think I'm going to make a displacement set. I'm going to take that guy down to like maybe 50 feet, which is where I had the other one. Oh, negative 50. Right, and then I'm going to pick that selection one, and I'm just going to take that down to like negative 80 feet. Right, so now we've got those guys. And then the next thing I'm going to do is sort of set up my crop box here. Get it a little closer. And you can still come in here and change the view. So if you want to make it a little bit more vertical, like looking at it from below a little more, and then maybe pick this guy and set it up to 100 feet. Right, you can definitely come in and make adjustments however you want to. All right, so once I have this adjusted, I'm going to come in and make a duplicate of this view and place it on a sheet. All right, and I'll do that in the next video.